The Supreme Court is weighing a case that could let political parties pour unlimited money directly into their candidates' campaigns. And if that happens, our elections won't just get more expensive, they'll get more unequal. Because the people who benefit most from unlimited spending aren't voters, they're donors. A tiny, ultra-wealthy donor class that already shapes huge parts of American policy. This case isn't just about money. It's about power, who has it, who doesn't, and who the system is designed to listen to.
As it stands right now, there is a cap on how much a political party can give to a federal candidate. In 2022, then Senator J.D. Vance filed a lawsuit to remove those limitations. Proponents say that it's free speech. Opponents say it's an invitation for corruption.
The case is called NRSC versus FEC. Here's the quick history. Back in 2010, the Supreme Court's Citizens United ruling unleashed a flood of unlimited political spending. Dark money groups have now poured more than $1 billion into elections. After that ruling, outside spending more than doubled. And nearly 60% of all super PAC money came from just 195 wealthy donors and their spouses.
The ads have begun. The 2026 battle for Congress and a waterfall of spending are underway.
North Carolina doesn't need another career politician.
John Husted supported the tariffs that are jacking up prices.
Life in Maine, the way it should be, is harder thanks to Janet Mills.
And all of that could be significantly affected by the nation's highest court.
So we're not talking about millions of people giving $20. We're talking about a couple hundred billionaires and multimillionaires buying enough influence to tilt entire elections. And that brings us to this case. The NRSC, the NRCC, and allies like J.D. Vance sued to strike down limits on how much a political party can spend in coordination with its candidates. That phrase, in coordination, matters because coordinated spending counts as a contribution, and contributions have limits. But Republicans want to erase those limits. The case started in 2022, moved through the courts, and the Supreme Court agreed to hear it in June 2025. Because the FEC isn't defending the law, the Trump administration sided with the challengers. The court appointed an outside lawyer to argue for the rules. That's how politically loaded this case is.
So the arguments for keeping this cap in place is actually quite straightforward. The idea is that we can only limit money in politics if it serves either to prevent corruption, which has been defined narrowly by the recent Supreme Court to be quid pro quo corruption, literally this for that, not this kind of bigger amorphous undue influence or preferential access. So one, does it prevent corruption? Or two, does it prevent the appearance of this narrow definition of corruption?
So what are Republicans actually arguing? Their core claim is simple. Coordinated spending is political speech, and you can't limit speech. They say parties need to coordinate freely with their candidates and spend whatever it takes to get their message out. They frame this as a First Amendment issue about association and expression. But that framing leaves out a huge, very convenient detail. Unlimited coordinated spending gives wealthy donors a direct pipeline to candidates. Right now, even billionaires can only give so much directly. But if the court wipes out coordinated spending limits, donors can route unlimited money through the party. The candidate and the party can coordinate every ad, every strategy, every dollar. It turns party committees into high-powered money funnels. And we already know what happens when the ultra-rich get unlimited influence. Republican donors are far more conservative than Republican voters. Research shows many GOP voters support universal health care, but almost no GOP donors do. We saw this with the 2017 tax cuts. The public didn't support them, but wealthy donors did, and they got exactly what they wanted. Fossil fuel executives poured millions into Trump's campaigns. In return, his administration delivered billions in tax breaks and gutted climate protections. The healthcare industry spent over $140 million lobbying to kill Medicare for all. Right-wing billionaires have spent decades funding legal attacks on unions, including the Janus case, all to weaken worker power. This isn't theoretical. This is how American policy already works. And this Supreme Court case would only accelerate it. When you listen to conservatives in this case, the messaging follows a familiar pattern. First, call it free speech. Same playbook as Citizens United. There, free speech meant corporations could spend unlimited money. Here, it means wealthy donors can coordinate spending with candidates. It's not about free expression, it's about free access. Second, pretend this helps the party, not donors. Justice Kavanaugh suggested that limits weaken parties. But strengthening parties doesn't require strengthening billionaires. It's a sleight of hand. They frame donor power as party power. Third, minimize corruption concerns. Republican lawyer Noel Francisco argued bribery laws already exist. But bribery laws only stop cartoon-level corruption, the suitcase of cash kind. Modern corruption is subtle, influence-based, and very legal-looking. Unlimited coordinated spending doesn't remove corruption, it legalizes it. And fourth, paint regulation as censorship. But campaign finance limits aren't about silencing anyone. They're about preventing a system where the loudest voice belongs to whoever writes the biggest check.
The larger question in this case is why the court continues to have the final say about how money moves through American elections. For almost 2 centuries, elected officials, accountable to voters, could set the rules for political spending. But ever since the case Buckley versus Vallejo in the 1970s, the Supreme Court has increasingly claimed that power.
From a progressive perspective, this case fits into a long-term project, dismantling every remaining barrier between concentrated wealth and political power. Buckley let money count as speech. Citizens United unleashed dark money. McCutcheon wiped out aggregate limits. And now, NRSC versus FEC could erase coordinated spending caps, one of the last protections against donor domination. If the court strikes these limits, here's what we can expect. Party committees becoming pass-throughs for big donors. Candidates becoming even more dependent on wealthy donors. Less incentive to represent the public, especially on healthcare, climate, taxes, and workers' rights. And a political system where candidates spend more time courting billionaires than voters. We already have a democracy where money talks. This case would turn up the volume so loud it drowns out everyone else. At its core, this case asks a simple question. Should political influence be something we earn with our votes, or something a wealthy few can buy with unlimited money? The conservative legal movement has spent decades pushing the second option. But democracy only works when government listens to the people, not to whichever billionaire cuts the biggest check. No matter how the court rules, the bigger fight is restoring a system where political power isn't auctioned off, where working people, not fossil fuel CEOs or hedge fund donors, set the direction of the country, and where our elections and our laws reflect the will of the many, not the wealth of the few.